Every time Senator Tim Scott opens his mouth, I just sit here and go, oh, my goodness. I've never seen somebody kiss more Trump ass outside of Eric and Donald Jr. He is desperate to be Trump's vice president. Listen to the sheer BS he uttered on Fox News.
Can he create jobs for the poorest Americans? Good news is he created more than 7 million jobs, with the highest percentage going to women, African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians. What we know about 4 years under Donald Trump is we had low unemployment, low inflation, high enthusiasm, law and order in our streets, and we've had the exact opposite under Joe Biden.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh.
First of all, let's get some basic facts. 6 million jobs under Trump, 13 million jobs under Biden. Mm-hmm. Crime is going down. Mm-hmm. It was going up under Trump. Then you hear all this, oh yeah, low inflation. Then, of course, you had this idiot completely bungled COVID. All right, we saw what happened there as well. They're all lies. Oh, Mark Cuban even broke this down, how all of these Republicans are talking about, oh, how Biden is destroying the oil industry. Oh, I'm sorry. They never produced this much of oil in the United States ever. That's another lie that's out of the window. Oh, wages going up. Higher on the Biden. I mean, Julian, it's lie after lie after lie when it comes to the economic numbers.
It really is. I mean, the numbers are there. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is impartial. Most of the people who work there are career employees. They have no reason to fudge the numbers for Biden, for Trump, or for anybody else. The numbers tell the story, as you said. 6 million jobs under Dump and 13 million under President Biden. Unemployment rate lower under President Biden, then under the Orange Man. We can go down the list. The one issue, the sticky wicket, of course, is inflation. And, of course, much of that can be attributed to COVID. But inflation is coming down. As the commentator, the conservative commentator said, they're trying to tell a story of America that just does not exist. You know, the crime down. We can just go down the list. Things are better. Now, for people at the bottom, they're not that much better, and you perhaps or somebody else can explain black men to me. I've never been able to figure it out. But those brothers who keep saying they're going to vote for Trump, but, you know, Terrence Woodbury and others have said those numbers may not be accurate. But the bottom line is Tim Scott is not only a liar, he's a blatant liar. He is, like I said, if his lips were not brown, you could see the feces running off of him, because that's how much behind he likes to kiss, just to make sure that the Orange Man considers him for vice president. But what does he bring to the ticket? Nothing. What does he bring to the table? Nothing. There is something wrong with that brother. But there's been something wrong with him for a very long time, as we all know.
And again, you're not going to get a pushback on Fox News, Renita, because they lie constantly.
Right, and I think it's time for this. You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. And Tim Scott, you know, it's time for that for him, because he is always coming up with these fantasy scenarios of what he thinks is happening, and all of it always in support of Trump. The reality is, at the end of the day, voters do not care what statistics actually show. So he's wrong on his facts. But even if he was correct, voters don't care about any of that. Voters look at how they think and feel about how far their money is going. So if they feel that they are able to work 40 hours a week and pay for basics, then they feel the economy is great. Voters do not go and say, oh, let me see what an economist said about the economy to tell me how I should feel about it. That's just not what voters do. They look at how are they getting along? What is their quality of life? How hard are they having to work to pay for the basics? So why he come up and just tell these lies that are easily things that can be fact checked and disputed? I don't know.
I just sit here and I'm like, dude, just stop lying. And on Congo, it's just like constantly. And then he was like, oh my goodness, blacks are running over to the Republic. No, they're not. Black folks are now running over to Don, and now the Republicans are trying this other lie that, oh, they're going to start using his criminal conviction as a way to appeal to black people. Oh, so what they're saying is, black people, you're felons.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if anybody think that's going to work, I got a bridge I want to tell you. Look, the way that they are using him and Byron Donalds and these other guys to get out there and be these surrogates and just get out there and flat out lie, it's sad. What's also really sad is that the people who need to hear that these guys are lying are most likely not going to see that truth unless they do hear from the, Colin Cowards of the world, because they're not paying attention to us. But the fact of the matter is, as we continue to plug away and challenge this not only misinformation but disinformation about the Trump versus Biden economy, it's also very important that we make sure that we point out the fact that Biden's economy is better than Trump's pre-COVID, because they always want to throw out the whole thing about, well, COVID, and that's what led to the reduction in these numbers of unemployment economy. That's not true. Trump is doing worse than Biden before COVID, and that's extremely important. And so at every measure, there's no, inflation is still an issue, as Dr. Malvo said, but at every measure, Biden is beating him, and particularly as it relates to the black community, issues relating to diabetes. We can talk about student loans. I saw Dr. Wes Bellamy last week talking about how his loans got canceled. I mean, there are so many diabetes. There's so many stories we can be telling that can refute what people are saying about what Trump's doing, and not in the grand scale. We can bring it down to personal things that are happening in our community that our communities are actually seeing results of right now and will be seeing as the months go forward. And we got to keep hammering that home, because they're going to keep hammering these lies, and Fox is part of the problem, as always.
And the lies will come fast and furious.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
Take back the money, take back the money, take back the money, take back the money.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country, because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties have waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty, We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready. And